everyone and welcome back to a new video. I'm going to say the same thing that everybody else says, and that is ultimately that I cannot believe it's the end of another month and we're doing another wrap up. Like, I can't grasp that. January, it felt like forever, and then February and March, gone. Literally gone in the blink of an eye. But we're here to do my March reading wrap up today. In the month of March, I read 9 books. Now, don't get too excited because some of them were graphic novels and one of them was a short story, so technically I probably read about 7 because the others are quite short, but still 9 overall. So it was a very good reading month and I got so much done and some really big ones off my list. The first book that we read was on my Kindle, and that was The Housemaid's Wedding, which is a short story by Freida McFadden, which takes place between the second and the third housemaid book. Short story following Millie, who's our main character from the other books, but on her wedding day. The story plays out across one day with Millie getting ready for her wedding whilst also experiencing some really strange phone calls. She's kind of been like threatened on the phone and she's unsure about who this is and why they're threatening her and that sort of thing. So it's kind of, we were building up to a big moment that just kind of didn't happen, but I haven't read the last book in the Housemaid series, so I'm not sure if this leads on into that one, and that's why Freida McFadden kind of built a builder book, because it didn't really need, it wasn't necessary to the story, I don't feel, but I think maybe it might link to the last book. So I ended up giving this one a 2.5 because I felt like it was a little bit unnecessary in the story, but I still really have enjoyed the rest of the Housemaid books, so I still will be reading the last one, and hopefully this links into that. Then the next book that I read in March was Where the Crawdads Sing. This is a historical fiction set over a couple of decades from the 1950s to the 1970s. At the start of the book, a body is found in the marsh. It is Chase Andrews, who is a rich quarterback in the small town. Our main character Kaya is immediately deemed a suspect in this death. The story is then told in the past and present tense. So in the past we're following Kaya and her unusual upbringing with her life of living in the marsh, and then in the present tense we're following the case and death of Chase Andrews and what has happened, who might have committed it. So it is a bit of a mystery but a historical fiction version. I feel like at some points we kind of lost the plot of the book. It was dragged out quite a little bit, which is why I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. I still did enjoy it, but I did feel like it was a little bit slow in some places and definitely could have like been picked up a little bit. And I think because the back of the book kind of gives you the whole thing about Chase Andrews dying, I then didn't realise it was going to be told in past and present tense and focus a lot on the past, so I thought it was going to be more of a mystery element, so I didn't realise that this book was more historical fiction than mystery. So I think if I'd have maybe known that, I would have had different expectations going in. But 3.5 stars overall. I did enjoy it and I'm so glad I finished it because this has been on my TBR for the longest amount of time. The next book that I read was also on my Kindle, and that was The Crash by Freida McFadden. It's her newest release that came out in February. Our main character Tegan is 8 months pregnant. She's currently going through a bit of a financial and life rough patch. To have a bit of a break for a couple of days, she decides to go and visit her brother at the ski resort that he works at. On the way there, she gets into a crash during a snowstorm, and when a couple comes to rescue her, everything goes a little bit south and starts getting a little bit weird, as it does in Freida McFadden books. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. I did like it. I like Freida McFadden's writing, but at the end I felt like it was getting a little bit repetitive. Like when we was having like day-to-day information, it was basically the same day or the same thing happening over and over again. It just felt a little bit repetitive and felt like some of that could have been cut out, but I did enjoy it, and the ending did get me a little bit. I was slightly suspicious, but it got me a little bit. Then the next book that I read was Kingdom of the Curse, which is the second book in the Kingdom of the Wicked series, which is a fantasy series with elements of mystery in there. Following on from where we left off with the first book, we're once again following Amelia and Wrath, and they're kind of doing an investigation, trying to find out who have been committing some witch-related crimes in Amelia's small town. The first book was set in more of the real world with elements of fantasy, whereas this one was definitely set more in a fantasy world. Once again, left on a cliffhanger, which I thought it would be because the first one was, so I'm excited to pick up the last book and see where we go with the series and what's happened, because the mystery element is carried out throughout all of the books and you still haven't got an answer towards the end of this one. I mean, you found some things out, but you still haven't got a complete answer. So I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Really enjoyed it and really enjoying the series overall. Not quite a 5-star feeling, but I'm very excited to continue and then read the spin-off series as well. I then started a new series which I wasn't sure I was ever going to read, and that series is Heartstopper. So I read volumes 1 and 2. It's a romance graphic novel series where we follow Charlie and Nick. So Charlie is a popular boy who's kind of described as like soft-hearted, and Nick is a rugby player. They both attend an all-boys British grammar school, and they're both put in the same class/form, if you know what that is. I don't know what they call it in America, but like the lesson you have before you go to other lessons, like the little group thing that you have in the morning, tutor. I don't really know what people call it anymore. They're placed in the same room, they start becoming friends, and Nick then asks Charlie if he wants to be part of the rugby team. Charlie then starts falling for Nick. So Charlie is openly gay and has been dating people in the school before. He's kind of been bullied for being openly gay, so he's a little bit unsure when he's asked to join the rugby team, but him and Nick just start having the cutest friendship ever, and then it develops into the sweetest romance. There are deeper themes and stuff talked about in these books, so maybe check trigger warnings. I mean, I know it's a graphic novel series and I know it's YA, but still I would, you know, things can be triggering, so I would check it just in case. But I am loving this series so far and can't wait to pick up the other books, and the spines are just so cute. I'm loving all the colours, so I can't wait to have the whole series on my bookshelf. I gave both books 4 stars. I feel like overall the series is going to be rated really highly, but I don't really know how to rate a graphic novel because I've never read them before, so I'm just going to go with 4 stars because I'm really enjoying it, but I'm not having complete 5-star feelings because they're just so quick. Like, I just feel like I don't get attached to the characters that quickly, but I feel like maybe when I've read the whole series I might do. I then read Hopeless, which is the 5th and final book in the Chestnut Springs series. In this book we follow Beau, who is the brother of characters from previous books in the series, and Bailey, who is from kind of like a rival family for the Chestnut Springs guys. Beau is struggling after returning from the war and seeks some comfort from a local bar, which turns out to be where Bailey works. After deciding on a mutually beneficial agreement, they decide to fake date. It is just adorable. I absolutely loved this book. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. Ended up giving it 4.25 stars. Like a bittersweet feeling. I'm so glad to have read this book because I loved it, especially like I just said, more than I thought I would. But the fact that the series is now over is just so sad. But yeah, I really enjoyed Beau and Bailey's story. Then I read another book that has been on my TBR for the longest time, and that book was Picking Daisies on Sundays. Levi and Danny have been friends since high school, and Levi ended up breaking her heart when he didn't reciprocate the feelings that she had towards him. It's been 4 years since they've spoken until they bump into each other at a bar, and Levi suggests that they fake date for his sister's wedding. I ended up giving this a 3.5 star, so I did like it, but there was a lot of miscommunication within this book, so I just will warn you if you're going to read it, but there is a lot of a miscommunication trope. I kind of saw it coming as well. I still enjoyed it. It was still really cute. I loved that it was set in New York, and Levi is just the sweetest person ever. But yeah, I didn't enjoy this as much as I thought I would, and I feel like perhaps my expectations were really high going into it, and that's probably why I gave it a bit of a lower rating, but I still really enjoyed the book, and I will be reading the other books that this author has published as well. Then the last book that I read in the month of March took me ages to read, and that book is the Book of Azrael by Amber Nicole. So this is the first book in the Gods and Monsters series. So as suggested by the series title, they're in a world where there are gods and monsters who are mortal enemies. To urban fantasy, so we have Diana, and she is a monster and she works for Caden. She made a deal with Caden in return for her sister's life and freedom, so Diana then has to work for him. He is a horrible person. He just sends her out on missions to do his dirty work. That's literally, I can't think of another way to describe it, but he then owns her. She doesn't really like being that sort of person, but she has no choice because she made a deal in exchange for her sister's life, as I mentioned. So then Caden is looking for the Book of Azrael, and something happens that then brings back Sam Kyle, who is known as the World Ender, and he is one of the gods. So there's then this big situation going on between the gods and the monsters where they're scrambling to find the Book of Azrael, and it's so interesting. It is a really interesting plot line and stuff, but it was so long. There are so many words in this book, so many words, and it was left on a cliffhanger. I ended up giving it 4 stars because, like I say, I did enjoy it. I've never read an urban fantasy before, so that was really interesting. I mean, at one point they were literally in a carnival in the middle of the book, so that was a bit random. I still enjoyed it. I liked Diana and I liked Sam Kyle. Liam, they call him Liam for some reason. So I still liked both of those characters, but yeah, I think I'm going to continue the series, but I think I need a little bit of a break because there was just so many words in this book. But yeah, 4 stars overall. But those are all the books that I read in the month of March. Like I say, I had a really good reading month, and there was a lot of range throughout the month. I mean, historical fiction, graphic novels, fantasy, romance, thrillers, the whole shebang. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know whether you read any of them books and if your thoughts are the same as mine, or just share your thoughts down below. I'll see you in another one super soon.